Hi, this is May Pang, and guess what? You're listening to Fab Four Free for All.
Welcome to another edition of the Fab Four Free for All. My name is Rob Leonard, and I am your moderator for today's show. Joining me, of course, are my co-hosts and friends, Mitch Axelrod.
Hey, from Lagos. How you doing?
And, of course, Tony Traguardo.
Hey, from some porch somewhere in Aurora, New York. But anyway.
Anyway, today we're going to talk about something that Paul McCartney has gone back to many times for releases and re-releases and differences and blah, blah, blah. But this one's a slightly different version from the previous ones. It's called Band on the Run, but it is also, in parentheses, underdubbed. Not missing dubs, but underdubbed. I'm not sure what that means. But we do know that it's another release of Band on the Run. It's a 2-CD set. Paul has decided, at least for this set, to go back to the American release and include Hell on Wheels, which, for those who don't know, was not recorded for the album, but was released as a single before the album came out. And Capitol Records had said to Paul, hey, Paul, we can guarantee like 500,000 more copies being sold if you put on Hell on Wheels. So, Paul, if you remember, Red Rose Speedway had just come out. It wasn't the greatest seller, even though My Love was on it. And Paul said, okay, I'll do it. And like many things with Paul, it stays in the back of his head. And then finally, when he did the box set back in 2011, 2012, he moved Hell on Wheels to the bonus disc. And then it went back to the original British version. And now Paul is bringing back Hell on Wheels into Band on the Run. So maybe because it's his choice now, it's better. I don't know. Hell on Wheels is a great song. I think it helps Band on the Run only because it makes it 10 songs, not 9.
Yeah.
But he didn't include it on the underdubbed version. So
there you go. That was in my notes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. But it seems now that Hell on Wheels, that the U.S. version is now like going to be the universal version again. And I don't mean universal in meaning universal music. I mean the universal around the world, the global one. I mean, what gives, Paul? But I'm not complaining.
I'm not either.
Helen, you're right, Rob. It's a short album.
Yes.
Short album in terms of songs,
yeah,
but long songs. But it's there's only 9, and you feel a little gypped. But with Hell on Wheels, especially the sequencing where they ended up putting it, which we'll get to, but right. I think it helps the album.
But we should note that we're talking about it being, quote, a short album. But it's still the underdub
41 minutes.
41 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, once you get past 21 minutes aside, you're starting to compromise sound quality a little bit.
No, that's true. And there are 2 long songs in this album. That's one of the problems. Or
more than that.
But you know what I mean.
But I mean, you start getting to London Town at 51.5 minutes or whatever it is. You got problematic pressing stuff going on there.
I don't care. I'll take
and that's why London Town hasn't been put out yet. That's why
there you go.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
That's the ticket.
That's a ticket. No, you know what though? We've always said that Paul just never knows when to cut down a song.
That's true.
And we'll get to it later when we talk about the underdub, but I think it shows there in the underdubbed.
Oh, you read my notes and I didn't even show them to you.
We just are always on the same page, Rob.
That's
true. Funny, but I may end up begging to differ, especially in one instance.
You're not allowed to, by the way.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
We all have to agree, or it doesn't ever. This video doesn't go out.
Yeah,
that's how we roll.
Yeah, that's how we roll. That's why we do what we do.
Right.
Now, Mitch, you have a listing of all the releases of Band on the Run because
yes, I do.
This has been released so many different times.
Yes, so let's go through them, shall we?
Yes, please.
Well, this might take the full hour. But,
Do we have to raise our hands? I mean, it won't be heard in the audio version, but do we have to raise our hands if we own that version? Or
well, it's gonna be interesting.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. I like
well,
that.
one
I
of
like
them is not.
we can't do that. We
owning,
don't
but-
have the, it won't
all
be
right,
in the audio
so-
version.
The 73, it originally came out, we said UK without Helen Wheels, US with Helen Wheels.
Right.
Different back covers too. US had Denny in the middle and UK had Linda in the middle. And that's important because the latest release, being the US, someone came out and said, hey, is that a mistake? They messed up with the pictures on the back. I'm like, oh, for good God's sake. No, just they did it differently back in 73.
Right.
Anyway, so this one, the next one, most people are not going to have. In 1981, Columbia had a half-speed remastered vinyl. Now, that one is a very expensive one. Supposedly, it's very good, but I don't have it. I mean, we're all not raising our hand.
No.
In 1993, the 20th anniversary, the UK-only Paul McCartney collection released, and that had Helen Wheels and Country Dreamers bonus tracks.
Sure.
I have that one.
Vinyl? No, that wasn't a vinyl.
No,
one.
CD
So
Oh,
only.
it was a CD.
Yeah, and you left out one. I don't mean to be funny, but you also left out one very important one because it sold extremely well.
Which one?
The picture disc.
That's right. There was a picture disc.
Yes, I'm sorry. You're right.
And there was also a quad version,
Yes.
which we're still waiting for a release, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that.
In 1996, it was put out a 5.1 music disc, which I
Yep.
don't have.
I don't
That's
either.
interesting too. 2007, we skipped to. I'm sorry, 1999. The 25th anniversary, sort of, released to coincide, obviously, with 25 years since the album really took off in March of 74 after the slow start, because as we all know, Band on the Run was not a big hit when it first came out. It took a while for the public to really hold on to it. And so in March of 74, it went to number one. So that's what they're trying to do in 1999 with 25 years. And that had Helen Wheels as track 8, as it was on the US. Then in 2007, it was available on iTunes. Now, again, that's not something you can buy it, but 2010 is when the archive collection started. My God, I can't believe it's 14 years ago. And that had the remastered UK version, as Rob said. The bonus disc had Helen Wheels and others, from One Hand Clapping and everything, and many different variations. And then we get to this new one, which is weird because it's half-speed mastered, not remastered. So it's not a remastered version. And as Rob said, it comes with the underdub mixes. There's also streams of Dolby Atmos 2, which I heard is amazing, and vinyl and CD variations. Now, the CD is just the 2010 archive edition. It's
Now,
not.
with the bonus tracks, though.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so. I'd have to go back and check, but honestly, the half-speed mastered version that we get on vinyl was taken from a high-resolution, track. So it's digitally remastered, which again most people hate. Thank you, MFSL and Friday Music.
Well,
but
yeah,
they do it a lot.
Right.
But this one's done really well, as we'll talk about. But a lot of people can't get over the fact that they remastered it from digital files. But it sounds really great. So
one more thing, Mitchell. The 25th anniversary had a second disc that was a documentary of the making of Band on the Run, which carried over to the box set, and also had some live and rare tracks on that too. So
that's right. Which one came in a box configuration?
That was the 99, I think. The little
that
box.
was one, where it's like a clam. It's like not a clamshell,
not a clamshell, but an actual little box.
Yeah.
Just like Brainwashed did at
right. Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, a little black box. And then the archive, obviously. But so, I mean, we're talking about a lot of different releases of Band on the Run already. Do we need
it's
another one?
I know it's Paul's breakout album, the album that proved not just to his fans but to like the critics that hey, he's old Paul McCartney again, and I think that always plays in the back of Paul's head when the stuff gets re-released. I mean, there's no real reason for this to have happened the way it happened, but I understand it doesn't. It's not that expensive. Let's put it this way: it's not overpriced. It's two discs that go for like $20 most places.
Right.
I mean, the album definitely absolutely holds a place of pride.
Yeah,
where Paul's concerned. There are so many questions about like what goes through his mind when he does it. The one thing that's probably a reality that we don't really stop to look at or think about is that, well, other than the B-sides that came out, they're probably really, like, people say, well, for a lot of other McCartney records, you'd think, well, but there are outtakes, because we always know that there are so many outtakes, or there's tracks, or there's...
right.
With Band on the Run, I think because the time constraints involved and because of the studio constraints involved, I don't think there's a lot of outtake material to work with Band on the Run. So I think when he's going to try to do something, I think it's hard for him to do anything beyond just working with what he already has and doing something like this, demuxing the tracks and doing...
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because even on the archive box, there was not a lot of, I don't think there's, except for the one-hand clapping stuff, really, it's like they only did these 9 songs and Legos, and, and that's it. I mean,
but the demos were stolen. So
yeah, and we also know that, it's not the best place in the world to be recording, and maybe Paul decided, okay, I've done my thing, which Paul likes to do. He likes a new thing, a new area to record in, or castle, street corner, whatever. And he, I think, said, well, we got to get out of here, and let's go back to London and finish it up.
Absolutely. And if you notice too, like on later records, very often you'll see written up in Beatle World, or you'll see Paul make a comment and say, oh, well, that was a song we had that was left over from blah. That's a song that was left over from blah. If you think about it, later records, there's nothing that was left over from Band on the Run.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
really, So I think, it would be lovely to see, like, all of a sudden, oh, there's an early version of Magneto Entertainium Man or something. But I don't think that stuff was written yet. I don't think that's...
I still think there's a way, when the archive collection came out, there was a 45 for Record Store Day of Band on the Run. And I still would love them to fit Country Dreamer on here somewhere. I mean, maybe if there's, I don't know if there's an underdub.
But I thought you said that, in other words, but I thought you said
on the vinyl.
In other words, so the vinyl, the new vinyl, that's right. The new
is
vinyl
just the album. And that's it.
And there's a double album with the underdubbed?
Yeah.
So,
okay.
But it would have been nice if they could have, at least on the CD, of just the regular Band on the Run, not the underdub.
Really can't see it with the background.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's just it's white. Yeah.
If they had put like Country Dreamer, like Zoo Gang, they already have Hell on Wheels on the the CD that came with this set. That would have been a nice little bonus thing, just to make it. I mean, I'm gonna buy this. I guess I already have it, but I don't know if I would have bought it if I was looking to save $1 or something. It's just something about, I don't know. But
what do you have? You have Country Dreamer, Zoo Gang,
yeah,
and Country Dreamer, Zoo Gang, not I Lie Around.
No, that's earlier. I think.
That's earlier. Yeah.
That was
so just Country Dreamer and Zoo Gang.
Right?
Yeah. There's not a lot. I mean, that we know of. Again, that we know of. Maybe he didn't want to do it again. Again, we're speculating, but maybe he didn't want to do all of that again for another, quote, archive collection of this on the 50th. Maybe he just wanted to give us the underdub because he already gave us the archive. And kudos to Andrew at Polygram Videos. He spoke to Miles Scholl, the guy who cut the album, and Miles was told at Abbey Road, and Miles was told that McCartney's group team considers the archive collection to be the gold standard. So maybe he didn't want to usurp what they already put out 14 years ago by doing another big box and making us pay for that, when there's hope that London Town and Back to the Egg hopefully will come out this year. And then at least I feel I won't be gypped if I have to spend for another big Band on the Run, and also for the the two that were.
Well, my thing is, was this tape around when they did Band on the Run's archive version? Why?
No, I don't think
so.
So.
This was found afterwards, I guess.
No. There was nothing to be found. This wasn't found.
But this should have been really included in the archive box. That's the type
they
of
thought
thing.
about it.
Look, yeah, right, exactly. I mean, the idea is, I don't think, listening to it, I don't really think of it as being like a cash grab.
No, I don't either.
At
I
the
don't
same time,
either.
though, I don't think that this is something that McCartney would have had. I just don't think it was something he really thought about or considered doing for the archive collection. Somebody might have just put it in his head that, Mac, it's 50 years Band on the Run. You should do something.
Well, here's the thing, Tony.
And the thing is, if you do go in and you listen to, you pull out the master tape and you put the master tape up and you start going like this and you start going, oh, I forgot about that vocal. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, this sounds cool with this missing. Then it becomes, yeah, you know what? I could do this with the 9 tracks.
Well, to your point,
put this together.
Exactly to your point, Tony, and I'm glad you brought it up, because maybe, he's been putting out all of his archive releases on half-speed masters anyway, half-speed masters anyway, all of them. Okay, so this was next in line. So maybe with the 50th, he said, okay, not only will we put out the half-speed master for the 50th, because we're going to do it anyway, because it's the next in line, maybe we'll give them more for their buck, even though it'll cost a little bit more, and give them the underdubbed LP as well, which in that case, it's not a cash grab, unless you just, negative and don't want to buy it and say it's a cash grab. That's fine.
Right, it's value added. I mean, look,
agreed.
Let's be honest. I was not under any circumstance going to go out and buy a 50th anniversary of Band on the Run if it was going to be nothing but the same one that was in the archive box.
Right. That part's true.
And I wasn't going to buy it. And despite the fact, I know it sounds great, I wasn't going to go run out and buy a vinyl that was mastered from digital when I may as well just play the digital.
Right. No, that's a good point. And, it's like the Beatles stereo box set. They took it from the digital masters, but the mono is from the mono analog tapes, and there is a difference.
Definitely.
We've heard the difference. We don't like to point it out all the time, but there is a difference. One thing about this thing is, what you said, Tony, that some people said, well, this is a money grab. And can we honestly say that Paul McCartney needs the money? He doesn't.
Well,
I mean,
that's not the point.
I know that, but some people, you see that's the response when people get angry about anything now. It's a money grab. Now and then was a money grab. No, it wasn't. And neither is this. I mean, this is something else.
But no performance in business to lose money. I mean,
that's a good point. But he's not saying, well, I need to add this amount of money to my bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but sorry.
No, I was going to say, you could look at it as a legacy grab, and I don't say that negatively. I'm saying
that's a positive thing.
You can look at it as, what? I've got another opportunity to take what was my biggest record and hawk it again with a new angle.
That's a good point. No, I like the legacy thing. That's actually I like that tarmac. I'm going to steal that. That's a good one.
Then we should have Then we should have had this discussion when he put out 2 or 3 years ago the McCartney 1 album, Half Speed Master, because that he had put them out already archive wise. So is that a cash grab?
No, because vinyl was making a huge comeback.
Correct, but now, as I said,
grab. Yeah.
But as I said, yes, it's a legacy grab. But as I said before, because he already has done he has already set the precedent by putting out every album in order, half speed mastered.
Yeah,
this was going to come out anyway.
Of course.
So he gave us value added with the underdub.
Right. So what you're saying too is
great.
So what you're saying too is based on, and again, shout out, and we're always proud of our own work, but we are, you and I both, Mitch, both watch Andrew's works, And Andrew from Parlogram was talking about the idea that from an audio standpoint, and he does a video where he compares all the different releases, that it's your first generation British pressing, and it's now this one in terms of how great they sound on vinyl.
Yeah, there was like a Nautilus pressing in '84. Yes. I forgot also.
Right, right. And you know what? I mean, I'd be curious to talk to another audiophile other than Andrew, no disrespect meant, but another audiophile who maybe has, you know, the Nautilus, the first British, and this one, to see where this falls. Because if this is creating the new one for this generation on vinyl, because no one's going to be able to go out and get it. Not everyone's going to go out and get a first pressing British. That's not going to happen. So if this is your new gold standard for you know, LP, then that's cool. That's great. And you get the bonus. You get the underdub.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point.
And I will say the packaging for the 2 LP set with it has a slipcase. It's gorgeous. And it has 2 posters of Linda's Polaroids.
Cool.
So, well, I'm just, again, they're not jipping out on us. I mean, and it was like $60. So quite frankly, if you're paying $35 for the half speed, you know, $60, you're actually paying less for 2 of them. Right.
And it's nice that they include the poster because it's a fun thing to have. And
there's 2 separate posters.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And I like the fact that the cover isn't the same as the original Band on the Run. That has the 3 photos from the back on the front, and it's a white background.
With the black and white photo, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a wise thing. First of all, it stands out. But second of all, if you're going to do something like this, and this is one thing I noticed while listening, and I'll bring it up right now, this sounds more like a Wings album than a Paul McCartney and Wings album. Because you're hearing a lot of more of Denny's playing and singing, I think. And the mix... I think this mix is also, for the Underdubbed, extremely well done. I love this mix a lot better.
Well, can I bring up one more point before we go forward?
Yeah,
sure.
Because I wanted to talk about this. We've talked about it before, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. I just want to put it out there, okay? I know, Tony, you had said, and Rob, you both said, you know, it's his album that he considers the best and biggest selling and blah, 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 and it is. But I hate when they keep touting it as his masterpiece. Because you know what? He's done 50 years of albums after Band on the Run.
Right.
And quite frankly, Band on the Run is not my go-to McCartney album. It's not. So it may be a masterpiece, but I have to tell you, I can name at least 2 or 3 that I think are better than Band on the Run. And I'm not here to debate this. I don't care.
I agree.
You got to remember, A, we're geeks. And B, you know, the idea being that when an album's a masterpiece, I mean, like the artist that always confuses me when you go with his masterpiece. The fun that I have with that is that, like Elton John, you know, for God's sake, you can go for any one of the first 6 albums.
Yeah, which one is his masterpiece?
Not Empty Sky, but which one of those is his masterpiece? You know, a Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, that's the masterpiece. No, that's the longest one. You know, I mean, so.
Yeah, but Tony, that you just said the first 6. If you go for the first 4 McCartney solo albums, Band on the Run is his masterpiece.
That's exactly where I was going to go. A person like Elton John, it's really difficult to do because those first albums all sold so brilliantly,
right?
That you can't really. With McCartney, what is the album that hit a chord with the music buying and listening audiences at the time it was released stronger than any other McCartney album, at least before Tug of War?
Well, I was going to say Tug of War, but
but again, his masterpiece, you're looking at, well, Paul McCartney and Wings. People could argue that, well, then Tug of War, Paul McCartney solo, that was.
I hate when they do that. It's
well, you know what it is? A lot of it comes from critics. You know, how many times have we read best album since Band on the Run? You know, right. and that goes to, like, you know, Flaming Pie even. Like,
right.
You know, it's just an easy thing to say, well, it's the best one since Band on the Run.
Now it's got to be, for me, it's got to be best album since Memory Almost Full.
Yeah.
No.
or to me, or
know.
I love Flaming Pie tremendously. So,
And I'm a big, I know we're not gonna, but London Town to me, I
yeah,
go
you
to
love
London
London
Town
Town.
before Band on the Run. And again, I love Band on the Run,
Right.
but
It's not like we're
it's so
dismissing it.
tough. Right. It's
Right.
just that
Right.
and you're right, Rob. It is a lot of times, uh, dictated by the critics because the critics hated the first three, and now all of a sudden, 50 years later, Ram is a masterpiece, and Red
No,
Rose Parkway is not bad, and even Wildlife, my goodness, it's getting better. It's like stop.
I don't know about that.
See,
Well,
Ram. I mean, you guys always Ram is probably my single favorite of the McCartney
Ram
records.
is a great
But
album, but again, back then, even when I first got it, I didn't think it was a great album because I got it exactly when it came out. I didn't think it was a great album. There was a lot of stuff on it I loved. And Band on the Run, even when I got Band on the Run, first, again, right when it came out, I was not a fan of Mamunia. I was not a fan of No Words. I wasn't even a fan of Picasso's Last Words. I wasn't. I loved the way Paul sang it, but I was like, it's okay. I thought it went on too long. And so it wasn't like it hit a chord with me right away. I mean, obviously Jet and Band on the Run, the singles, my God. And
Yep.
Bluebird, Bluebird sounds like he could have recorded it today and it would still be number one. But it wasn't like it took me. I know, it sold really well, but even as we said earlier in the show, it didn't catch on right away.
No,
So
that's why 74 he didn't put out a record because Capitol and AMI said, you know what, we found a way to sell this as an album with these great singles, and then all of a sudden the critics got behind it, and there was a lot of things going on that led to 74, which is a Paul McCartney year, even though he didn't release a full album or anything. He worked on McGear with his brother, which was a Wings album with Mike,
right.
but it's not a official release,
But Rob,
And there's the irony there because I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mitch. I'm so
No, I was
sorry.
gonna say, can you imagine if it didn't catch on like they wanted?
Yeah.
Band on the Run would be an afterthought,
Yep.
not a
I know.
masterpiece.
For me, it's really funny because I will probably, don't get me wrong, I love the Band on the Run album in its way, but I probably have listened to McGear more in the last 15 years, 20 years than I have Band on the Run.
And that for me, it's
Very
the
weird.
opposite. I never caught on to McGear.
You never grew to the McGear record.
McGear's a good album. I'd like to see it released as a Paul McCartney archive series. I know Mike McGear or Mike McCartney put out his own archive version of it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so
Right.
but people forget that Paul produced it and he co-wrote most of the songs with Mike,
Yeah.
and he plays on it even though it's not listed. So
I wonder if there's a version of the McGear album with all Paul singing guide vocals.
No.
no, I think they were written together.
Yeah, I think those
we
were,
brought it in.
yeah. those
Anyway,
were-
so that's why I just didn't. I wanted to at least put it out there that I hate when they keep saying it's his masterpiece. Stop. It's a great album. It did a lot for him at the time because if it tanked, I don't know where Paul's career would have. I don't know where it would have taken him. Quite frankly.
Yeah, well, it led to, he didn't tour after that right away. It took 2 years to get going, but that, Band on the Run leads to the 2 Wings albums, and then the 75 tour, and then the 76 Wings Over
Right.
America tour. So
Otherwise, it would have been the epilogue or News in Welch.
anyway,
There's
let's
a
start
running
off.
joke there.
Let's start off with the tracks for the underdubbed version of
Well,
Band.
Well, Rob, why don't you say this?
What?
Why don't we just say that the album itself, because we're not going to go through the album.
No, I just wanted to say what's different. I'm not going to.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about the.
No,
we've done that.
I'd like to go there. I mean, there's 9 tracks. It's not, I mean.
No, you mean the regular album or the
No,
underdub?
no, the
The
underdub.
underdubbed.
No,
Yeah,
you're right. I was just going to say in general, because I have the half-speed mastered vinyl, that I think it sounds brilliant, like Andrew Hologram
Right.
said. That's all I want to say. I
Okay.
want to say that it sounds amazing. It sounds clear. Everything, the instrumentation is amazing. And quite frankly, it will be my go-to Band on the Run from now on, because it does have Hell on Wheels, and it's so I grew up with it being in the US, but
Right.
it sounds, if anybody is really going, well, maybe not, go get this, because if you're a big Band on the Run fan and you have the money, go get it because it's totally worth it. So now we can start with the underdub.
Cool.
Okay, the underdub version starts off, which you have to, with Band on the Run. And, the beginning, you don't really, it's all guitars, so you don't notice the missing orchestration.
But you're missing the guitar stings at the beginning.
Yes.
That's true.
A bunch of lead guitar stings
Yeah, that's
at the beginning,
true.
which is jarring at first.
I didn't miss it as much because I was waiting to see what they did with the middle part, and that's where it kind of lost me a little bit. That da 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 da, and when you hear it on the regular album, it's like it's overtaking the song and it's taking it someplace else.
Yes.
On the underdub version, I'm underwhelmed, I guess is the best way to say that. And also the edit of the strumming from that part is really, really obvious. And, sometimes, when you mix things, sometimes you bury it. And they did a great job on the regular Band on the Run, sort of to bury that. So that was one of the things that bothered me a little bit, was that middle section. And then there's that part where it goes like 8 bars or something, where they ended up cutting it out. But on the underdub version, it's there because, it's like Paul was made a mistake almost, and then he realized, I got to wait till the bars happen. And then it reminds me of that 2-bar thing in I Am the Walrus.
Yeah.
Where John starts to sing and goes, ooh, but they kept it in on the Anthology 2 version. So that would be my problem with Band on the Run. I liked it, obviously, but so, what do you guys think of the first track of this album?
Well, I'm going to tell you, in general, again, I found for a lot of these that I didn't miss a lot of the stuff that's missing.
I agree.
So for me, is that a compliment or an indictment of the overproduction of the original?
No, you know what I think it is? And go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, so as far as Band on the Run, listen, every time I see people review this, I don't see anybody say that there's different lead vocals. There are definitely different lead vocals.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I know, but nobody says anything. It's always like, okay, this is just the same vocals, but they didn't, put on this or put on that.
No, this has definite different lead vocal.
Oh my God!
I mean, not all of it, but parts of it.
Absolutely.
Right, as soon as Band on the Run starts, he says, "And the rain exploded," instead of "Well, the rain exploded." Right. It's like, if you don't think that's a different vocal, hello, you haven't been listening. But I like a lot of the ad libs throughout that you get to hear now, the little things, in the song, which is kind of cool. It does need the orchestration. I think Band on the Run is one of the songs that definitely benefited because you said it's like a suite. So there's edits that need covering and stuff. But, I think it's okay. This one to me was underwhelming, as you said, underdubbed, underwhelmed. But Tony?
I think to your comment, Mitch, about is it a compliment or a
indictment?
An indictment. I think hearing it unadorned, I think what you're doing is you're realizing that these are really good songs.
Yes.
Band on the Run is a good song. And the idea is, up until this point, McCartney was struggling a little bit as a songwriter. There are some, don't get me wrong, like I said, we love Ram, but does Ram have a lot of really well-written Monkberry Moon Delight's a lot of fun.
Yes, that's different.
Are you going to sit there and go, what a well-written song, Monkberry Moon Delight?
Right.
In the piano attic with the piano up my nose, But
no,
with Band on the Run, it's, hearing it without the lead guitars, like I said, it's weird. But you could sit around at a party with people with acoustic guitars, one of Rob's parties, obviously.
No.
Yes, of course.
But you could sit around at a party with a bunch of people with acoustic guitars, and you could play Band on the Run.
You know what? I can't believe you said that.
And it's going to sound like this. And
Tony, my God, in my sheet right here, and I'm not kidding, I said this makes it more of an acoustic album.
Absolutely.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
Wow, I can't believe you
And
just said that.
Paul's drum work, I gotta tell you,
Oh,
Oh,
I
oh,
have that too. Stop.
Paul's
I
drum
have-
work is ass kicking on that track. It's
Yeah.
really funny.
No,
I
it's
have-
ass kicking on a lot of tracks.
a lot of tracks.
And
because-
there are a couple of great clams too, which we'll get to.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was going to bring up the drum part, but I'll wait to the individual song because some of those songs, I'm like, first of all, is that Paul drumming? Because his style wasn't matching what I'm used to hearing, what I think of the Paul drum style,
drummer.
which is,
Yes.
he tends to play a lot of notes, I think, at least to me. But
well, like his bass, he plays a lot of melodic.
yes, that's a
He's
good
not-
point.
He's not Ringo.
That's true. That's
Right.
true.
Right.
So
He plays too much to the song, and Ringo plays to the song.
yes. So I like I said, Band on the Run's not bad, but that middle section is what I don't miss the guitars, and that's a good point, Tony, because I didn't think about the guitars because I thought the beginning part was so good, and that's one thing about this album. There's certain songs that, did you need Tony Visconti's orchestration, and that's I don't know, and I'd like to know what Tony Visconti thinks of this.
I'd be curious, yeah.
Yeah, because and the other thing, one thing before I get to the next track. One thing I like about this is no bleeding between the tracks. If you like on Because, I see
what you mean. Yeah.
There's a little bleed from one track where they on the Love album they put the crickets over it a little bit so you wouldn't notice it.
Right.
But on the Anthology 3, you hear just a little bit of a leakage. You don't hear any leakage on any of these tracks. So that's
because by the time, because these are tracks that were done live. A lot of this, let's say, is the foundation of the tracks done live in the studio. You would hear bleed if you were hearing a lot of the overdubs and people were standing with their
headphones
hands too close to the microphones.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And that's often where you get a lot of the bleed. Like there's a really famous tape going around of Elton John doing a lot of the songs from Rock of the Westies, just him on piano and vocals. And everybody always kind of moans and goes, it's such an amazing bootleg, but on certain songs you hear bleed through. Well, it's because Elton's got to be wearing a pair of headphones listening to what's going on while he plays piano and does his vocal.
Right.
So of course you're hearing bleed through, But anyway.
Now we should say, we didn't mention this yet, but the underdubbed version of Band on the Run is not the same order of the version we know and love. Right. And I have to say, the order works a lot better with the underdubbed version. I would like to do a thing where I
don't know about that. I don't think Let Me Roll It would be a good closer.
Oh, I do. I think that it says a lot as the last song as what some people have claimed that it's about. I think at that time, as the end song, it plays better than 1985.
Well, you know what? The album's over. Paul says, all right, the album's over. Let me go. Just roll a big fat one and just go chill out.
No, but you know what? I mean, I was even thinking about it. Mrs. Vanderbilt could have been good because at the end with that wicked laugh, that would have been kind of cool to end it with the ho hey ho's. But whatever. Yeah. But you're right. It's not the same order, and it actually makes for a different listening experience,
definitely
which is good because I think if I would have put this on right after listening to the half speed and had the same order and missing some stuff, I would have been like, okay. But because I didn't know what was next, because I didn't put the album next to me, it's a surprise. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah. So the next song is Mamunya, and I have to say, first of all, this is clean. This is like maybe one of the cleanest songs on the whole album. I happen to like this version better than the Band on the Run version.
Right. Go ahead.
I'm not sure why I like it so much, and I think part of it has to do with what Mitch said before. When I first got Band on the Run, this song was not on my favorites list. And I think because of that, I appreciate this underdubbed version more.
I didn't even miss, Rob. I didn't even miss what I still couldn't tell you what's missing. Because, first of all, it's 5 minutes long. He needed to cut this down by 2 minutes. Okay, definitely. I'm sorry.
That's funny.
But he does. But and we said it, come on, Motor of Love, 621, we know what he doesn't stop. He just keeps doing that. But the percussion is clean.
Yep.
I sat there and, as a drummer, even if I'm not a drummer, I love the sound of good percussion in a song. And this is so clean that the percussion just shines through, and it takes hold of the song. And it makes me, as you said, it makes me appreciate it a hell of a lot more, because this was relegated to the B-side on the single.
Yep.
And it was let's face it, an album track. Not I mean, a little better than Loop, but still, no, but I mean, it's really,
goodness.
there are words to it, but it's not exactly the poetic brilliance of Paul McCartney with Mamounia.
No, but it's sweet though.
It is sweet,
Yeah.
but
Sweet.
McCartney always does sweet.
Yeah, but again, I'm sorry.
No, so that's all. I'm just saying I have a new appreciation for it. It needed to be shorter, and especially with the underdub, I think you definitely see that or hear that it needs to be shorter.
And I'm on board with everything that's just been said. I really do genuinely like this version better than the original.
Me too.
There's something about
what am I missing on it though? Because I
the
really didn't even know.
vocals. It seemed like the vocals, and I could be wrong, but the chorally Mamounia always felt like it was like going through a Leslie or something.
Maybe, but
It always felt, the vocals always sounded like there was something affected in the vocals, gone. And I could be wrong. It may just be my ears playing
you're
tricks.
remembering.
Yeah. No, I mean, I played it today, and I still, in the original studio version, I still feel like there's something on the vocals a little bit. They're gone here. And I just love the feel of this one. There's
I do too. It's there's a lot of, as the second song on the album, I'm not sure if it's at the proper place, but it plays so well, I didn't even think about it,
And the weird thing is, like I said before, the fact that I cannot even right now tell you what I'm missing.
Yes.
Means that it's a good song, but it's also the fact that I enjoyed this version, and I didn't even care what the original release was. I love this one. So again, just too long. But other than that,
I agree. The third song on the album is No Words, where Denny gets his first vocal or part vocal on a Wings album. He had it lie around before that. I happen to like this version too. I like what Linda and Denny's harmonies are doing on this song a lot.
Absolutely.
on a lot of these, yeah.
And that's something that I really enjoy on this, because you forget how they were really good with each other with harmonies.
Yes.
And you don't think of that as much because everyone likes to make fun of Linda as a singer. But when she was singing with Denny and of course, Paul, her vocals and harmonies, or I should say her harmonies, were much better than people give her credit for.
Definitely.
Absolutely. That made Wings sound.
Yeah, if you're going to do a Wings cover band, you need that type of female talent, meaning that it doesn't have to be a perfect singer, but you have to know how to sing like Linda did, which is sometimes it wasn't as good as it could have been, but most of the time it worked, and this is one of the places it worked, at least for me.
You bet. Yeah.
Yes, and it worked on me with Wildlife. It worked on I Am Your Singer. I thought she was great for what the song needed.
Yep.
She was perfect for it.
Right.
We're not talking about, I know there was Cook at the House, but for most of Wings, her third part harmony made Wings sound.
Yes.
On the Underdubbed, we'll get to a couple others, which I really have that written, but you can tell, and I'm glad that she's being appreciated, because she's, like, as you said, Rob, she doesn't get appreciated for her singing. I'm not saying she's great. All right. We all heard the Hey Jude thing, which is ridiculous in itself. But quite frankly, without Linda, Wings is a different sounding band.
Definitely. The next song is Jet.
Oh, no words.
I'm sorry, Tony.
One of my favorite,
Tony.
one of my favorite songs on the album. Always
It's
has
sweet.
been. And it's funny you said, here is a sweet alternative version.
There you go.
I said,
I wrote.
Missing the chops on the finished one. Again, McCartney's bass work. Couple of real good drumming clams.
Yeah.
I never realized how much melody is going on underneath the "Your Burning Love, Sweet Burning Love." There's a lot of stuff happening under there that's a little bit drowned out by the orchestra.
Correct.
in the final version. And then at the end, they take on these two lead guitar parts, and somebody must have flubbed something, because why doesn't that go on longer? They're doing those two lead,
Yeah, no.
real nice guitar leads. Somebody had to have clammed right after the fade out, because that I could have taken that for another minute,
Yeah.
But anyway.
That I like when Paul does that type of thing on making his songs longer when they should be shorter. Is if he plays it out, then it's different than when he just keeps repeating the same verse.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're talking about 6 o'clock, that extended is not exactly what we want.
Oh, yeah. I like the 6 o'clock. I love the extended version.
Too, but it's come on.
I'm talking about "We Got Married," which should have been like a 2.5 minute song. It's like 4.5.
Don't get me started, Motor of Love.
That's like a whole other show. There's like just a whole other show. And now Paul McCartney songs that go on for way too freaking long.
You know what? Yeah. That's not a bad topic. Thank you.
It's really funny.
You just gave us a good topic.
Yeah,
go ahead, Rob.
Too long.
And you know what? One thing's just to finish that thought off. When the anthology, when he started to go through the tapes, when he'd go visit at EMI and hang out with George Martin and Jeff Emmerich, all of a sudden he realized, geez, we did 2.5 minute songs in 3 hours. Why am I spending 6 months on one song that's going for 17 minutes or something? Right. Or 4 minutes, 5 minutes when it should be 2. Anyway, the next song, I have to say it's not the same without the horns. Jet. If this was the version that was played in stadiums, like it gets played in stadiums, it would not be played in stadiums.
Let me tell you right now, it has great ad libs. All right.
Yes, it does. Yes,
the harmonies and the ending is fun. But I will say one thing, just one word: Moog. I mean,
oh God, yeah.
And you want to it's hidden with all the orchestration and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you hear it here, I just want to go in the studio and hit him over the head and say, "What are you doing? That is the worst sounding." It's going to actually help me, help my constipation. It was so annoying. The Moog or the Moog, whatever you call it, the Moog. It goes. Yeah, the Moog. It goes on and like a bad drone.
Yeah.
And it's like Tomorrow Never Knows, the original version, except this is 10 times worse because it's so loud in the mix, and it just really is. It's tough to take for the 3-4 minutes for the song. It really is.
One thing I do like about this song, and this involves Mitch because the drummer, that part, that drum middle, that does not sound like Paul again playing drums.
Wow.
It's like, did Ginger Baker sneak in and do something?
Not just
Maybe
that,
Jeff
but
Britton came in.
Not just that, but the fill that actually opens the song.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's Paul.
That's Paul.
That's Paul.
Damn, that's a really great fill.
Listen, Paul.
Paul
is not a bad drummer. He's not technically like Ringo. It's not like a metronome because he's all over the place a lot. But he is very melodic, as we said before, and that comes from the way he plays bass. That's him as a musician. He needs to add, and he always does. But this time with the drums, you have no choice. So he got creative.
Well, you hear much later, and you hear. It's like Mick Fleetwood's almost joined the band.
Yeah.
I was just amazed that was Paul playing the drums. I was just very impressed with that. I was just like, wow, because you don't notice it as much in the orchestrated version or the released version, whatever you want to call it. So
it was well, two things. I was in my notes. I was saying this is the closest thing so far on the album to being a bootleg version.
Yes,
this sounds like something that you would have heard on bootleg. There was also over the years there was a
good point.
Like a monitor mix,
There was a bootleg with it was like based on the quad 8 track of Band on the Run.
Right.
And there were like remixes from that 4-track, and some of these there are definitely similarities. The instrumental breaks a little weird, and I wrote this and it made me laugh. It's 73. Glam is happening, and if you listen to Jet and you think about the Jet, that kind of thing, there's one point where I heard the song playing in this incarnation and went, Bay City Rollers could have done this. Like it actually has like a like it's could have if this song had taken a different turn, it would have been McCartney's Glam single.
Yeah, I think Bowie could have done it.
Who?
Bowie.
No, it's too edgy for Bowie.
Maybe T-Rex. If
T-Rex. Yeah, well, right. Jetster. I don't know. Anyway.
And the other thing I noticed about this version is that the backing vocals are much more noticeable.
Yes. Great harmonies, though. A little bit at the end. The harmonies at the end.
I have the same thing. I say I like the scat ending, but it's so different because it's, that's one of the songs that there's a major difference. I think out of all the ones here. Even Band on the Run sounds similar to most plots, but Jet, we need that. Even that ending.
But Paul does it with his voice.
Yes, that's right. You're right. You're right. That was
the horns at the end.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next one is Bluebird. To me, I realize that you don't really need the orchestration on this one either.
Except the sax solo.
The sax solo, but you know what?
No.
I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it.
I love the sax solo. I love it. But the song still has a really sweet groove and a sweet sway.
Yep.
Without the horn solo. The horn solo makes it funky. It makes it, but the song makes it
very romantic. It does.
Absolutely. I mean, look, the original is so simple that it almost makes it odd to have this version. But if you didn't know the song, would you know what was missing? If you didn't know the song, you played this for someone.
No,
the person would be just like doing this during the sax solo, the groove, doing a little rock back and forth.
Right.
And then when it comes back in, you kind of go, oh, maybe somebody could have soloed there, but they didn't, You
know what? I think, first of all, I do the At Last We Will Be Free. I like that. I'm glad I'm glad they dubbed it in because it's not here, and I needed that. I really do love the sax solo. I do. I mean,
I do too.
So I heard it in my head while this is going on, but everybody will. But I have to tell you, I have such an appreciation for Paul when you hear Bluebird. I still think this could have been a fourth, fifth single. I do. I think Bluebird would have done so well because, again, we're talking 74. We're talking in the mid of all of the singer-songwriters at that point were really hot. The James Taylors, the Carly Simons, the Carole Kings. And I think this would have fit in anywhere on the top 100. Maybe it wouldn't have gone, number one, but I think Bluebird is a beautiful, very underrated song in his catalog.
Especially
this
after
only makes it beautiful, more beautiful.
Especially after the two rock singles, to come out with an acoustic thing would have been kind of nice.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me once, did you think that that Billy Joel with the sax solo and Just the Way You Are could have been inspired by Bluebird? So I don't know. I don't know how much of a McCartney fan Billy was.
Well, Richie would have.
Right. But Billy's choice to have a sax.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know. That's a good point.
But it's a beautiful song. God.
Yeah. No, but it works, as way it is. I mean, it's just incredible if you think about, because he knew he was going to put orchestration in these spots.
Right.
But at the same time, he kind of said, oh, they sound okay to me, but he went with the orchestration, which I understand.
But he always tends to overproduce.
Yeah. A little bit. I don't think Band of the Run is overproduced, but this is underdubbed. There's a difference.
Yeah, I guess.
The next song is a song that Paul added to his live show a few years ago. Very wise choice. Mrs. Vanderbilt. This is a little different also.
Different lead.
First of all, the guitars are much higher in the mix. And to me, that changed the song a little bit.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah,
freaking bass work. But anyway,
yeah, and there's also fun screams all over the place, which you don't hear in the
They're
final
buried,
version.
with the orchestration. But and also there's a couple of times when the first ho,
is not there.
there, right? And you're like, hey ho. It's like, wait, where's the ho?
Yeah, where'd the ho go?
Where'd the ho go? No, but I mean, I sang it and I'm realizing I sang it by myself. Wait, I need you guys to sing ho with me. So
Right.
it is kind of weird. And again, like you said, Rob, the ad libs and the fun, sort of like they did with Old Brown Shoe, where it sounds like a party. With the remix, the Mrs. Vanderbilt sounds like a party, and it sounds still like a party when in the release version, especially at the end with that wicked laugh. But this was different. I mean, definitely a different lead vocal.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that the lead guitar is in this version.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
That wasn't considered a last minute dub, I guess. There are some acoustic guitar flourishes that aren't on the final one, like after the line "When your pile is on the wane," there's like a little bit of like a wheelie that isn't on the final. Just fun. It was, it's just a well done. It's a great alternate version, less intense. The ho hey ho's are very like on the release one, really in your face.
Yeah, but that's fun.
It is fun, absolutely. So this one is less intense. It's a little more laid back. It's not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's the party after a couple hours, and everybody's a little bit of stoned. They're eating the
with the eucalyptus leaf.
The eucalyptus leaf, a little bit of stone.
I didn't know Father Guido Sarducci was visiting.
Man.
The next track is my favorite on the whole album.
Wow.
It's an instrumental version of 1985. No vocals except for a little background ooze.
Yeah.
This is fantastic because the lyrics, the lyrics, no one ever gets out alive in 1985, and that's basically the lyrics.
It's close. It's not really the lyrics.
Yeah, but it's close enough. So to me, this backing track, which was always a fantastic backing track, gets the spotlight. And to me, I'm listening to this. When I was listening to it, I went back again to listen to it right afterwards because I just loved the sound. I've always loved the piano on this, what Paul did. He kept the full track. Sometimes when you do these instrumental only things, sometimes you fade it early, but the repeat of that riff just is a monster riff. You know what it reminds me of a little bit? The bass line of Silly Love Songs, which just comes at you and never stops. Yeah. This has the same type of riff where it just keeps attacking you almost. And it's like, I'm going to make you like this song no matter what. And just the instrumental track. So I was very impressed with this. I also was impressed at the end. This is really nice guitar solo.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
And well, you know why? It's very much overshadowed by George Martin's orchestration. Again, nothing wrong with that.
Tony Visconti.
I'm sorry. Did I say George Martin? Wow.
Yes.
Tony Visconti's orchestration in that. When you hear the build on this, and on the record, it's got like noise flying into it too. Like the build up at the end, it's almost like it's Paul's "I Want You" at the end. It's got like the build up and the noise.
Yeah.
Good point.
And then Band on the Run comes in. But this, I like the fact that it breaks down. I think that's, but it's again something that it's funky. That riff is funky. It's a strong riff. I think it's a little bit long in the instrumental version.
Yes,
definitely. I don't mind because this has again always been one of my favorite McCartney songs. Period. But it's a funky workout on this, and I totally agree with what you were saying, Rob.
Two things from me.
Okay.
Hang on, Rob. Two things from me. First of all, Tony, I think it's too long.
Yeah.
But the other two things I was going to say, in this one, the Moog doesn't annoy me.
Right.
The Moog actually helps the feel of this of the track.
Yeah.
Whereas in Jet, it just pisses me off. But after listening to this instrumental version, this could have been a great song on any movie soundtrack.
Definitely.
Ah, I have it written there.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I wrote that in my notes. It's a movie soundtrack
Movie
wonderful soundtrack song because
Yes.
As an instrumental.
Yep.
Well,
Totally.
Brilliant.
What movie soundtrack music did he do early in the year? Live and Let Die. Maybe this comes out of that. Maybe this was the idea, but he came up with Live and Die because of the title. But you're right. This would make a great movie soundtrack. I also think that some hip hop rappers might sample this song, and Paul might be sending his guys out there because he's a rapper too now. 4.5 and whatever the other one. The only
5 seconds, not 4.5.
Yeah, but I don't.
You are showing your age, my friend.
Yeah, well, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me.
Sorry, don't you do a show called Beatles songs every Friday?
Yes, I played it once, and I got 2 phone calls screaming at me, "Why are you playing this shit?"
Yeah, that was from Paul.
hey, Rob, go over the songs. Why are you playing this one? Could you play more
Kanye?
But I could see some rapper taking this riff and really doing well with it because it just has this great attack on you and
yeah.
I happen to love it, and I like the ending, and it also changes that it doesn't have that I don't want to call it a reprise, but the little clip of Band on the Run at the end.
Yeah.
It becomes its own song, I think.
Yeah, but if it's ending the album, it's appropriate that the reprise is there.
Right, but now that it's not, you don't really need it. And that's the other thing about this record. We know that there are parts where he puts a riff in from Jet or something, or this at the end of the song with Band on the Run. Those are there, but Band on the Run thing isn't. But it doesn't sound like it's a theme record anymore. At least to me, especially since he changed the order, and
that's interesting. That's true.
There was a theme supposedly, and it also had the cover. So you were thinking about that when you first got it. So the theme of the Band on the Run, isn't maybe there as much, and especially because of this song, having the Band on the Run.
Yeah.
But I like the ending, the way it just sort of ends, and I'm like, damn, that's really cool. So. Yeah. We got 2 more songs on this collection. Picasso's Last Words. Okay, everyone. I'm going to let Mitch go first. Or let Tony go first.
Tony, go first.
Yeah, Tony goes first, because I know I'm going to say the same thing as you.
No, I don't know. I don't know what you're going to say.
Oh, okay.
Other than like the ending when it gets really goofy, I think it's lovely. I think
really? Okay, then we don't.
Lovely. I think it's I love Paul's lead vocal in that.
Oh, I have that.
Totally different vocal.
But really good.
Yeah, and the little musical interlude where the effects go on the finished version is beautiful. The silliness is gone for the most part. The overall vibe is really nice. Once it gets to like the drunken section at the end, it's a little strange. Reminds me very much of something that Nilsson would have done. If he had given it to Harry would have had a pisser.
Almost 5.5 minutes, dude. It's
but there are cool guitar bits during the ooze. There are a couple of nasty clams. There's the Jamaican interjections. I find it funny that here that they're over there and you got Fela Kuti running around screaming that they're going to steal the Africana vibes. And there's more reggae in here than anything else.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's no Africana really. So yeah, I mean, too long, definitely.
But this is more noticeable on this version that it's too long. I on the regular version of Band on the Run, I don't mind the 3 different parts being merged into one song.
Right.
On here, it's a lot more noticeable, and it's not as enjoyable either.
I'll say this, Rob, to your comment. Will this hold up for me on repeated listings?
No.
Don't know.
Okay.
That I don't know. So I'll give you that. But hearing it 3-4 times so far, each time I just found the loveliness in it. I don't know if it's gonna.
I could cut out the middle and I'd be much happier. Because
I'll make you a version like that.
Okay, thank you. The Tony Traguardo remix.
Absolutely.
But that's my problem with the whole thing is the middle part where it's supposed to be pieces like Picasso's paintings. This is just like, I don't know. It's much more noticeable as being pieced together. And Paul's always been able to, take bits and pieces and make songs out of it. Uncle Albert, Albert Halsey, side 2 of Abbey Road, stuff like that. And here, it's just noticeable to me. I wasn't thrilled with it. I mean, with Ginger Baker's on there shaking a tin can, for those wondering what Ginger was. And that's about it. The Jamaican...
And screaming, "Get off my lawn," probably.
The only thing I will say, I miss the string flourishes when he's drink to me.
Yes.
I miss that very badly.
Yes, I agree.
It's beautiful. It really is.
It is,
And the one thing I will say on this Underdubbed, while I think, again, it's way too long, I always loved this song. Again, I didn't love it initially when it first came out, but it became a favorite as over the years. But the 3-part harmony.
Yeah.
So noticeable on this.
Yeah.
And that's where I was saying Linda, and you hear Linda very clearly.
Definitely.
And there's just listen, Paul and Denny, we know what they do together. All right. Listen to anything that they do. But when Linda's added, and this Underdub really shows Linda on the 3-part harmony, it's really lovely. And I appreciate this version for that. Other than that, I like the release version better.
I agree with you, Mitch. I think it's too long, but it's also looking for something. It's looking to connect as as a song.
You may be right. Maybe this should have been the closer because it just goes nowhere. No, I mean, drink like they're all drunk and the album's over.
Yeah.
Do you think that one of the motivations for doing this kind of underdub thing, do you think it was the idea that Paul, listening to this stuff, may have been sitting there throughout thinking, wow, man, me, Denny, and Linda, we made a really great little set of harmony vocalists. Like, this does reinvent Linda in a way.
Yeah. But you know what? It also includes Denny a lot more because you hear more of his stuff, and his harmonies are like higher in the mix.
Yeah.
This is the only album where it's the 3 of them. And that's right. So to me, I wonder if Denny heard this before he did.
Town, there's a lot of 3-part harmony on.
Yeah, but there was 5 people basically. Jimmy and Joe English were still on the album.
I would say they're not really harmonizing.
No, they're not harmonizing. But I'm just talking about the fact that it's just the 3 of them on these.
Right.
Well, it's funny because revisionist history. If I'm not mistaken, and please correct me, someone, if I am, I think this was released on the day Denny died.
Really? I hope he heard it. I don't know if he did.
Second. I'm not saying he heard it or not, but what I'm saying is Paul, in any of his words about this album, has been very kind to Denny.
Yes, he has.
And how important Denny was to this album. And again, I don't know if it's because Denny passed or Paul really feels that. I'm not. There's no negativity here. I'm just saying Denny was a really big part of Wings. And obviously, and Linda was too. You said this reinvents Linda, but quite frankly, Ram and Red Rose Speedway did too.
Definitely.
Yeah, but
I mean, Ram. I mean,
of course, but I think
that's Linda and him.
But that was credit to Paul and Linda McCartney. So
yes, but Linda always added, even though again it might not have been technically the greatest voice. It fit with what Paul was doing, or Paul made it fit with what he was doing.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But it works. And I think with this Underdubbed, as Tony said, yes, I don't think it reinvents Linda because I think she was reinvented with the earlier archives.
But again,
it definitely highlights Wings' sound, including Linda.
Right, but it's also, now don't forget, Mitch, back to that idea of it's taking the classic, it's taking the greatest album, Paul's masterpiece, and making people reevaluate Linda's contribution to
if they are, because
but I'm just saying,
a lot of people are not going to get the Underdub, so they won't appreciate it. They'll get the the
Right.
regular.
Hey,
CD.
I didn't mention this, and we, but I missed her solo on Jet.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you're right. I mean,
That wasn't on that's not on this version. So, and the last song on the album, which I think is a nice closing song, is "Let Me Roll It." There are parts where the vocal is definitely different, but it seems to be in the beginning parts of the verses more noticeable than the end parts of the verse.
oh, there's definitely different vocal on here.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the released version vocal better,
Oh,
but this
see,
is not a bad one.
this is my go-to now, moving forward.
Really?
Oh, weird. Not me.
I like it a lot, but
I think the released vocal is too straight now. I feel like everywhere on this one where he deviates, I feel like is an improvement.
that's a good point, because the deviations are noticeable and they are different. And he's sung this literally every concert since 1975 Australia tour. I mean, literally more than yesterday. Yesterday he doesn't play it. He's still singing "Well, Let Me Roll It." Right. So this song obviously means something to him after all these years. And the vocal, like I said, is just a lot different, actually, if you think about it.
It is. The inflections are different.
Yep. So
he went with a much more. I'm sorry. He went with a much more straightforward vocal on the release. Yes. He repeats his patterning
right
over and over. This one, he's going off the script a lot in terms of where his melodies are, and
Well, maybe he didn't like it. That's why he decided to go more straight.
Yes, yeah.
But
he also released it as a B-sides, and maybe that was in the back of his mind too. The B-side might, get airplay. You don't want something too weird on your B-side.
There's also that weird bird ad lib in the very beginning. What was that? I know. It's like, what? Where'd that come from? What were you doing?
That's how that would be how he signals his pot dealer.
He's going.
He'd lean out his window and he'd go, "Whoo!" And then there's somebody would come and Pete
Townsend would show up.
Yeah, right.
So
who?
You went who?
So that does it for our review of Band on the Run.
Let me just add one more thing. I'm going to do a Columbo like you did.
Good.
I forgot to add for Picasso's last words. There's the really cool Belafonte Deo at the end.
Yes.
With the banana boat song.
Is that Linda?
It's Linda. Well, both of them do it, but Linda does it too. And I have it written, and I just forgot to mention it. Sorry.
Okay, no, it's a good point. You're always having fun on that part of the song. Why not? So. Anyway, so that's the Band on the Run underdubbed version. Now, I got one more question about this idea of underdubbedness. Is there another album of Paul's where you would like to strip off the orchestration, not the production? That's another. To me, the production is press to play, and I hope he remixes that if he ever gets an archive version of that. But is there another album of Paul's where stripping off the orchestration would help or hinder, maybe?
I don't know though, because I think that when I think it goes hand in hand. I think what you're talking about, Rob, is and I agree with kind of the way you're phrasing it, but it's sort of in the case of Band on the Run, so many variations are introduced because of orchestration. I think the album that suffered most from too much crap being poured on it has been fixed already, which I think was Pipes of Peace.
Okay.
I think Pipes of Peace, I think the 2015 mix of Pipes of Peace is cleaner. I think he pulled some crap off of that.
What about Off the Ground?
I don't think that has orchestration that outstripped. That's more of a remix to me than
maybe. Again, we'd have to. I guess it'll have to be not album wise, Rob.
It would have to be song for song.
Songs, yeah.
Be piecemeal.
We'll have to say, okay, that one maybe would be a cool.
Do you want to hear My Love without the orchestra?
No.
I don't want to hear Only Love Remains without the orchestra.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to hear Through Our Love without the orchestra.
And Motor of Love, don't forget.
And Motor of Love.
It's interesting. This wasn't a George Martin album where he's stripping the orchestration.
Right.
It's Tony Visconti.
Giles would have just shown up at his house beating the crap out of him. Come in, McCartney. Plam.
I think, look, a good album is a good album. Band on the Run is a really good album. And I think the Underdubbed is important to be there because it shows what a good album it is. So I think the added value that McCartney gave us actually adds to the appreciation of the album.
Yeah, no, it's at this point of the 50th anniversary, it's, this is when you release it. It's.
But to your point, though, who brought up the question about was there another album that we could do? Did Rob? Did you say
I
that?
did, yeah.
Yeah. To your credit, though, Rob, it is interesting because you by saying that, you kind of brought around the idea that this is really the only whole album where you could have done that.
Right. No, you're right.
Like you're not truthfully, you're not going to strip away "Dear Friend." You're not.
Yeah.
You're not going to pull the orchestration out of "Dear Friend" and find something that in there. You're not going to pull out the horns and listen what the man said.
No, that's a good point.
Or Uncle Albert.
Or Uncle Albert, yeah.
Because that might be exactly. It depends, though. Uncle Albert might turn into be what Picasso was,
right?
If you strip everything out, because it's sweet that needs something. So who knows? But like you said, like we just discussed, I think it'll be piecemeal with songs. And I think as we keep going on, like maybe we should keep that in the back of our mind, because hopefully when we do get London Town and Back to the Egg, God help us, please. Once we get those, then maybe when we discuss the review, maybe that could come up again and say, hey, maybe Morse Moose or don't let it bring you down.
No, see, I have to ask, I'd love to see the song. I'd love to hear the song London Town stripped of some of
a little bit, yeah.
No, that's a good point, and maybe redo the video too, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I mean, London Town and With a Little Luck both are two songs that I would like to hear them a little bit stripped of the little schmaltz, a little deschmaltz of fun.
It's funny though, because those those two songs were huge, and now looking back, just like we just did with Band on the Run, we'd like to hear them a little less schmaltzy, but we may find that you don't watch what you wish for, because
the schmaltz was the glue that held
it might have been the best part of the song.
Yeah.
Well, it's like on Anthology too. I Am the Walrus without the strings is a different feel, because you're missing that great orchestration that George Martin wrote for that song. So it's and plus we're diehard fans, so we notice the little things where maybe other people wouldn't care or notice it. So I'm glad it's out. The
only thing I'll say, Rob, last thing for me, is that with the Underdubbed, when I first heard it and when I first saw that it was being released, especially after I heard it the first time, I was underwhelmed. I was. And now I appreciate, after listening to it again and again and again, no pun intended with Back to the Egg, I honestly, I've come to appreciate the Underdubbed a lot more.
Right.
Is it vital? No. Is it added value? Yes.
Yeah, it helps you. It helps you understand these songs that we've heard for many times.
Yeah,
and it's you can't do this for other albums, or some of them you could, but Band on the Run is the one that everyone knows.
Yeah. And you're right about the whole value added thing, Mitch, because the idea is, let's face it, people who are really major Beatles fans, Beatle collectors, 25 years ago, we would have been running into a store to buy this on bootleg for $25.
Right. No, that's right. That's
right.
Very true.
And now you're getting it as part of the package. 50 years later, it's Paul's choices, what he wanted to do, and you go, yeah, all right, something new and fun. So
I still would have liked to have had Helen Wheels as an Underdub.
Yes. Damn it.
Yeah, but it wasn't recorded that way. So
I know.
But by the way, Mitch, you mentioned 2 records that Paul has yet to do an archive series. I just want to add a couple others. The McCartney interview, Press to Play, Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. The Amoeba Show was released, but I would like to see something better, because there's got to be video of it. Driving Rain and Memory Almost Full.
But Rob, you're missing the point. The London Town and Back to the Egg are the last 2 wings.
Right, yes. And I'm not sure.
Those should be, give us those next and get rid of the wings portion of the archive. Right. And then you could start doing whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
We need to give wings their last due. And,
I agree with that.
And it's due to us. It really is.
I know, especially those 2 albums are so opposite in sound and what Paul was trying to do with it. And it would be nice if he can go back and remind people of both of them. Though I would like to see Press to Play totally remixed, You know,
I'll
get
call
that
Paul
80s
tomorrow, okay?
Hugh Padgham crap out of there.
Anyway,
I like you. He did a nice job with Genesis. Anyway, that
That's
just
true too, yeah.
and that's all.
Yeah. Anyway, that just about does it for our show, the Fab Four Free For All. We're here as a podcast, or as we like to say, a radio show on the internet. Also, it's on YouTube. And if you want to watch us during the show, and we appreciate if you go to YouTube also. There's a bunch of shows up there.
Subscribe to the channel, the Fab Four.
Even if you're just listening to the audio, people, go to YouTube and subscribe. Will you please? Just guys. Anyway,
you can see the three of us, which might be frightening, but
you could run away right after that.
Just
go, oh my God, run like hell, but just subscribe.
Just click on it and subscribe. It helps us.
Yes.
Anyway, so thank you for joining us. I've been your moderator for today's show, Rob Leonard, and joining me has been Mitch Axelrod.
Take care, folks, from Legos.
And, of course, Tony Traguardo.
And Tony Traguardo from Mega Blocks. Oh, you said Legos, not Lego. I'm sorry.
We have to hurry up because I'm about to get mugged.
Anyway, thanks for joining us and take care.
Fab 4 Free For All was edited and produced by Tony Traguardo at Word of Mouth Studios in Westbury, New York.
The opening and closing theme is My Dolly by the band The Badge, featuring longtime listener Jeff Slate, available on its debut album Digital Retro and recent Best Of compilation, as well as from the Fab 4 Free For All website.
Thanks for listening to Fab 4 Free For All.